आज हम सॉफ्टवेयर क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस पे बात करेंगे। सॉफ्टवेयर क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस एक नहायत अहम टॉपिक है और इसमें सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग में बिलखुसूस बहुत ज़्यादा लोग अब स्पेशलाइज करते हैं। सॉफ्टवेयर क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस के बग़ैर कोई लार्ज स्केल प्रोजेक्ट बल्कि मीडियम टू लार्ज स्केल प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो सकता। और ये मैंने इसलिए कहा कि जो स्मॉल प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं उसमें जो क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस है वो डेवलपमेंट का हिस्सा ही समझी जाती है और स्मॉल प्रोजेक्ट्स में गालिबन इतनी इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं की जाती जितनी शायद ज़रूरी है। लेकिन मीडियम टू लार्ज एंटरप्राइज एंड मीडियम टू लार्ज सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोजेक्ट्स में सॉफ्टवेयर क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस में बाकायदा इन्वेस्टमेंट के बग़ैर हम प्रोजेक्ट की सक्सेस के बारे में कुछ नहीं कह सकते। तो आज की इस डिस्कशन में हम सॉफ्टवेयर क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस के ऊपर एक इंट्रोडक्टरी बात करेंगे और वो इसलिए कि इट्स सच ए ह्यूज एंड वास्ट सब्जेक्ट कि एक सिटिंग में इट इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल टू कवर ऑल एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ इट। So basically this is an introduction of software quality assurance. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about what quality is. आप किसी भी सॉफ्टवेयर प्रोफेशनल से जब ये पूछते हैं कि क्वालिटी क्या है तो probably you will get a different answer. But we can agree on a couple of areas. One, we can say that quality is where there are very few or ideally no defects in the software product. Now again, we cannot ensure that a software product has zero defects for large projects. It's practically impossible. Now for small projects, yes, we can say that this particular project does not have any defects in it. But so if you talk to software professionals, they can say that if the level of defects or the number of defects in a product are approaching zero, we can say that it's of high quality and it meets the requirements. And another definition that we can agree on is the high reliability of the software product. That is, for how long it can run without crashes. And then again, it depends on the kind of product that we're talking about. If a product which is developed in a healthcare system or in national defense or mission critical applications, that has to be much more reliable as compared to some standalone applications. And so this definition also depends on the area in which we are working about. Let's now talk a little bit about why we need to have high quality software products. As I've said before, having investment in software quality ensures that, number one, our products are better than competition. If you have high quality software products, it reduces time to market for new products. The reason is that you have taken the necessary steps to address the issues upfront. And as a result, you're not spending time in fixing defects. And so your scrap and rework time is all saved, and the effort and the money along with that. And another very important aspect of investing in software quality is that the company is able to keep good professionals. You know, in IT business, the professionals leave if they're not interested in the project they're working on. It is such an exciting industry that good professionals find work without much difficulty. And so in order to keep them in an organization must invest in producing high quality software. Similarly, if the products are of high quality, the risk of litigation, and serious litigation in some cases, is reduced. More and more economies are dependent on automation. And so if our products are of high quality, the chances of serious failures and catastrophes are reduced substantially. And if we invest heavily in quality assurance, especially in mission critical areas, mission critical applications, the rewards are abundant. And it also saves an organization from bankruptcies and serious business failures. So you see, this investment in quality assurance, investment in software quality from the start of the project, actually in the organization itself, is a very important step in healthy financial growth and management of that organization. So yes, it does take investment, it does take funds to be spared and allocated in areas which improve software quality, whether that's training, whether that's putting in processes, whether that's considered overhead. But in the end, the results are very rewarding, both financially and systemically. So management also gets happy, and the team is happy on working on high quality products, and the financial side and the profits margin also increase substantially. Let me show you now pictorially how the SQA activities pay off. So here you have a chart which shows the cost to find and fix a defect. If you invest in SQA activities, you will be able to find the defects very early in the software process lifecycle. Let's say you are able to find your defects early using SQA activities and requirements and design, and compare that with finding and fixing defects when the software is in the operational use. The numbers are so far apart that it just shows you pictorially that you need to invest in SQA or software quality assurance activities so that you reap the financial benefits and some of the other benefits that I alluded to earlier. So we can say with the help of this chart that a separate team or a group which is independent is required in every medium to large enterprise at least, and smaller companies also, which is devoted to assuring software quality. That group is also known as SQA group. Now let's talk about a little bit what the goals of SQA are, or SQA group are. First and the foremost, as the name suggests and as the discussion has so far geared towards, is that the first primary goal of SQA group is to improve the quality of software by monitoring both the software and the development processes that produces that software. It also is responsible to ensure full compliance of established standards, procedures, and policies. Now, I'm not here saying that SQA people should be qualified technically, or SQA people should be the most qualified in a certain tool, or they must be qualified in certain language or design. No. Their purpose is, their objective is rather to monitor that the technical staff is following the processes and they're adhering the standards that have been agreed upon for producing high quality software. And actually SQA group is part of the team which agrees or develops in the first place these standards and procedures for development of software. And another very important goal is to ensure that all the inadequacies of the product and the process are documented and removed. And if in certain areas the procedures have to be waived, then that waiver has to be recorded and agreed on by the SQA people also. We can now say that by our discussion so far, that the tasks of software quality assurance are process definition and standards, formal technical reviews, that is conducting of formal technical reviews, then you have test planning and reviewing of the test plans and procedures, measurement and analysis and reporting. These are the main tasks, main functions of software quality assurance group as a whole. Now, having looked at the 5 main areas where SQA group focuses, we notice that none of them include knowledge of a certain design technique or language skills. Rather, these are skills which typically are not taught in undergraduate computer science programs. So the skills that are required for an SQA group include knowledge about statistical methods. So you can do measurements. So you can teach and work with the technical staff on how to collect and measure defects. The SQA group must also know quality control principles. They must be familiar with software processes and all the different steps and standards and procedures that are involved with using and actually improving software process. And most importantly, a member of an SQA group must have an ability to deal effectively with people in contentious situations. And as you can imagine, these contentious situations will arise, and they will arise when the time is short for delivery and the SQA group is not happy with the work or the emphasis of the development team on quality related activities. And so there's a possibility of come even at loggerheads within the organization. But it is the responsibility of SQA staff to maneuver out of these situations and to work with people, difficult people, sometimes very intelligent, very hardworking, but sometimes non-cooperative in SQA related activities. And so this is a skill that members of SQA group must learn if they don't have it under their belt already. But one thing I would like to mention here is that from my discussion, don't take this impression that SQA group is responsible for putting quality in the product. The quality of the software actually is the responsibility of the people who are developing that software. And that software includes requirements, it includes design, it includes programming, it includes testing, and so forth. The role of the SQA group is to monitor these professionals and to monitor and to ensure that these groups, these technical groups, follow the standards, they act according to the procedures that have been agreed on for the project, and if they don't, then that has to be brought to the attention of the higher management. Now, this seems like a contradiction, and we need to address that, and we need to be sure that when we say SQA is very important or SQA is necessary for the success of a software project, we are not mixing the fact that SQA people are not putting quality into the product. Rather, it's the development team, whether that's requirements development or test or coding or design. But SQA's job is to work with them to ensure and to monitor that these technical groups perform their responsibilities as agreed on by the standards or as directed by the top management. So what are the potential risks or pitfalls that one must know about? Number one, it is a mistake to assume that SQA people can do anything by themselves about quality if the development team is not following those procedures and standards. That's very important. You cannot just have an SQA group in an organization and let the developers do their own thing without worrying about, without following the procedures or without following the standards and processes which are mandated, which are required for producing high quality software. So just creating a group in and of itself without having the development team work with them and to follow the path that they have carved out for the development of high quality software is a mistake that the quality of the product will improve that way. And the same next point is that if the technical staff, if the development team is not following the standards and procedures, then just having an SQA group is not very helpful, is not very assuring. So that group must have powers or responsibilities to work with them, that the SQA people and the technical team must work with each other to resolve any differences, to ensure that the technical staff follows these standards and procedures. And also, a very important point is that if this knowledge is brought to the attention or this information is brought to the attention of higher management, then that higher management must act on the recommendations of the SQA group. If, for example, an SQA group notices that certain standards are not being followed and they fail to convince the project management and they fail to convince the technical team, they must bring this to the attention of higher management. And that term is called escalation, so that they raise their concerns to the higher management. They escalate their concerns to the higher management. If the higher management acts upon the advice of the SQA group, then it shows that yes, they are committed to having software quality as one of their leading objectives in the business. But if the higher management ignores the recommendations of the SQA group, and the technical team continues to do their own thing, then obviously it shows that the higher management is not committed to high quality, and by just having such an SQA group in and of itself is of no use. Let us now talk about the responsibilities of the software quality assurance groups, and we'll have some discussion on this. First and foremost is the SQA group is responsible for reviewing all development and quality plans for completeness. Now these include requirements plans, design, coding, and so forth. So one of the important tasks of the SQA group is that they should look for completeness. Second is that they need to participate as inspection moderators in design and code inspections. We'll talk a little bit about formal technical reviews later in the sitting, but I'm sure you're quite familiar with code and design inspections. They are a very important quality assurance mechanism, and the SQA group needs to be part of that. The SQA group also need to review all test plans for adherence to standards. So again and again we see that the SQA group is basically sort of, I can think of it as an internal police. I don't want to use the word here police, but some sort of an enforcement team which keeps the development teams on track for adherence to standards and procedures. Now when we follow these standards and we follow these procedures, they enable us to focus on the technical area or the technical complexity of the project, and that way we don't go astray on different from the right path of project completion. This is a very helpful way that the SQA people contribute to the success of the project. Some techies, some very hardcore genius programmers feel that it's an intrusion that the SQA people are working with them and they are not letting us do the creative work. But the fact of the matter is that the SQA people enables these genius programmers and designers to focus on doing the creative work which is related in solving the technical problems that are faced with the project, by the project. The standards and the procedures are there to sort of help them in the infrastructure way. And so this is again this sometimes become a reason for conflict between the technical team and the SQA group, and that needs to be avoided. The SQA group also needs to review a significant sample of all the test results to determine the adherence to the test plans, and if they see that the results are not in accordance with the test plans, or the results are not as expected, then they address this, they take this issue up with the project management. The SQA group is also responsible for auditing the software configuration management performance to determine adherence to the standards that have been agreed upon. SCM is also a very important umbrella activity of all projects, and I say all projects because SCM is such an important activity that it must be included in even very small projects. Any project which involves 2 people must have some sort of automated configuration management mechanism in place. And there are other aspects of SCM which we are not going to talk about in this lecture, but SQA again needs to see and assure that the SCM related standards are also being followed, and this is especially very important for medium to large enterprises and medium to large software projects. The SQA group also needs to participate in all project quarterly and phased reviews, and it needs to register non-concurrence if the appropriate standards and procedures have not been reasonably met. That is, if there are any deviations from the standards or the procedures, those deviations must be recorded by the SQA group, and the reason of deviation should be recorded therewith. And if, for example, there is reason to believe in the judgment of the SQA group that these deviations are not justified, they need to take it up with the project management and ultimately to the higher management if that issue or those issues are not satisfactorily agreed upon between the project management and the SQA team. And one thing I'm sure you have recognized or understood from this discussion, that the SQA group is not reporting directly to the project management. In fact, the SQA group don't report to the project management in the line manner. It reports to the higher management, or a change which does not include the project management of one or more projects that are being worked on in an organization. Now, up till this point, we have talked about what are the roles of SQA group and how it distinguishes from the development teams, and what are the tasks of the SQA group are, and why is it necessary to have an SQA group in the first place. I'm quite sure that no organization would like to market its products as of having low quality. Everyone likes to market the products that they sell or the services that they provide as if having high quality, and this is related to the cost of the service or of the product as well. For example, if you take the examples of in an auto industry, there are very high-end cars which are of very high quality, and then there are cars which are not very expensive, but they do provide the services for which they were built in a reasonably good quality, reasonably high quality. There are town cars, and then there are sports cars, and then there are luxury cars and whatnot. But so quality is actually a very, as I've said in the opening, that you will find very little agreement on what quality is. So there are a number of parameters, and cost is one of them. And so, we have to, when we're talking about quality, software quality assurance and investment in software quality assurance, you have to be very clear about it, that I'm not saying that you invest so much that it's more than the price of the product, or it becomes so expensive and the process becomes so lengthy and difficult that you don't produce a product at the end. No. What I'm saying here very clearly is that the quality of the product obviously has relationship to the cost, to the overall objective of the product for which quality is being discussed. Now, of the 5 major functions that I had mentioned earlier that SQA group performs, I'm going to talk only about SQA reviews because they are very important and they are actually the crux of many things that the SQA group does. Now I'm going to discuss what SQA reviews are, and specifically I'm going to talk in more detail about what formal technical reviews are. So a review is a process or a meeting during which a work product or a set of work products is presented to project personnel, managers, users, or other interested parties for comment or approval. The types of review include code review, design review, formal qualification review, requirements review, test readiness review, and so forth. And this definition was approved by the IEEE, and you see that it includes pretty much everything, every possible software product that we develop as part of the software lifecycle. It includes or can include requirements document or design document or our code or programs, as we call them, and test plans, in fact SCM plans or quality assurance plans for that matter. So anything or everything that is approved by the peers and the management, and that approval process includes a number of people who put their approval stamp on it, is a review. And there are a number of ways to do it. So let's now talk about the objectives of formal technical reviews. As you can say that the name contains technical review, and it's done formally. So that's very important. So this activity is a very formal activity as compared to a walkthrough or a round robin review. So one of the objectives of FTR or formal technical review is to uncover errors in function or logic or implementation for any representation of the software, which is it can be a requirements document or design document or programs. So software as it exists in any form, and to verify that the software under review meets its requirements. You can hold a formal technical review to ensure that the software has been represented according to the predefined standards. So again, we hold reviews to ensure that it is technically sound, it meets the requirements, and that it adheres to the standards that have been agreed upon. Another very important objective of an FTR is to ensure that it has uniformity within itself. That is, the different parts of the project or the different parts of the product that we are reviewing are developed in the similar way. If a team of say 5 or 10 people or more are working on a product, it is quite possible that each one of them will introduce their own individual style within the product, and that needs to be discouraged. And FTRs enable us to make our projects more manageable by looking at or reviewing and improving different products throughout the life cycle. Now, one of the very important side effect, positive side effect that happens as a result of a review or a formal technical review is that the ownership transfers from an individual to a larger group, or for a small group to a larger group. That is, if I am the author or my product is being reviewed, then after the review and after the approval of the product, all those participated in the review have a stake, can claim partial ownership, that yes, they have looked at this document or this product and they find it to be as accurate as possible, and if they find any defects in that product, then that has to be conveyed back to the project management, and those defects need to be fixed. So it allows the ownership of a large number, or a large number of team as compared to one person or the other. What reviews allow us also is that they enable us to create what is known as corporate backup, because if one person is working on a product and he or she shares it with another set of people or a group of people, then that sharing creates backup of knowledge that exists only in one person. And it also enables us to train newcomers on how formal technical reviews are held, and how defects are to be found in a collective manner. What technical reviews are not they are not a budget summary, they are not a scheduling assessment. So you don't discuss budgets or schedules when you conduct formal technical reviews. They certainly don't discuss the project progress, overall project progress. And most importantly, FTRs are not a mechanism for reprisal or political intrigue against people whose work is being reviewed. So if mistakes or defects are found in the product, they need to be highlighted so that they can be removed, number one, and it provides the necessary insight to the author or authors of the project so that they don't make that same mistake in future. As you can imagine, that the team that conducts these reviews has to be managed, and there are a number of roles that are played by the members of the review team, or we can call them reviewers, and those roles include facilitator. This is the person who's actually running the show within the review meeting. Then we have the author, whose product we are reviewing. Then we have a recorder, the person who takes notes of the decisions or the defects that are found within the review meeting. Then we have the reviewer, and all of them play the role of reviewer. All of them try to find defects in the work product that is being reviewed. And we have an observer, and the observer is actually can be a new person. SQA staff can also be participating as observers. The review process and the review meeting actually provides a very good training ground for these observers, especially to those who have joined an organization recently, in the recent past, and are not really familiar with the activity of review. This will enable them to be fully participatory in future review processes or review meetings. All of them, as I said, review the product. All of them actually try to find defects in the review meeting, but the holding of the meeting is done under the leadership of the facilitator, and he or she conducts the review meeting, orders the recorder to take notes, and ensures that everyone is focused on the agenda, and that the review meeting gets underway and finishes within time. You cannot spend hours and hours on a review meeting and at the end, because it's a group activity, a lot of money is being spent by the participation of a large number of people in that review meeting. So the burden of conducting and ensuring that the agenda, all the agenda items are met, and that the review team meeting starts on time and completes within the tolerable range that is acceptable to all participants, and that the productivity of the review is of reasonable quality are the responsibilities of the facilitator. And it also ensures that no unprofessional misbehavior happens during the review meeting. It's a very serious activity because a lot of organizations' funds are being allocated and used to hold such a meeting, and a lot of preparation actually goes into this meeting, and everyone has to be prepared and have at least read and documented the defects before coming to meeting, and collectively then they point to they develop a pool of areas that need to be looked at, or identify pool of defects that must be removed before that product is actually approved for further development. So the facilitator is a very important person. The author is the one who actually informs the team or the meeting participants on how to proceed. It introduces he or she introduces different parts of the product to the members, and the recorder takes the notes as well as the defects that have been identified in any decisions that have been made collectively. So these are in a nutshell the responsibilities of the participants of the review meeting, and these roles are again burden sharing or sharing of responsibility among different different members of the review team. So let's now look at the review activities. This involves, first and foremost, is review planning. Then we have the actual review meeting, to which I was referring to a little bit earlier. Then you develop a review report, and there is identification of rework, and that rework is to be recorded by the recorder, by the person who plays the role of recorder in the review process. And then there is follow-up. So these are the very important 5 review activities that must be conducted, and they are very simplified here, but actually they are very detailed activities that are part of the entire review process. So now let's take each one of them, and we'll see what they are. Review planning, for example, includes, number one, the completion of the work product, or at least partial completion of the work product up till where the product would be reviewed. This includes the list, and in most of the planning actually part is done by the author of the work product. So the author is responsible for selecting the people who would participate in the review process. The author is responsible for selecting the facilitator, for ensuring that all the participants, all the reviewers have agreed to the review process. They have the required documents at least 1 week in advance, so that they can go through them on their own time and jot down the defects in their respective opinion. And holding of the review meeting, the scheduling of the room, and the availability of time slot and all that is part of the review planning. Now, when the review meeting starts, the facilitator takes over, and the author basically paraphrases what the document is all about, and informs the audience who have actually gone through the work product themselves, and in that process they identify different areas of concerns or defects that they have found in their opinion. And at that point, some clarification may be provided by the author, but the reviewer should focus on the document and not really get into the question answer mode, rather than identify issues so that they can quickly point out to different areas of their concern to the author, who's actually responsible for creation of that work product, and ultimately who's going to fix that document. And so the tone of the review discussion should be mild and not accusatory, and the review process should be as productive as possible, and the recorder must, as I have said before, record what the decisions are, and when the meeting is completed or finished, the entire team has to make a decision. Number one of the possibilities is there are no defects found, so we accept the work product as it is, or the work product is partially accepted and the list of defects has been identified, and those defects will then be removed by the author, or they reject it and they ask the author to finish the rework and come back to the review meeting, come back to this review process, and then they will make the decision on the approval of the review of the work product. And so rework I've already mentioned. The follow-up is the task which involves the author in the project management, and that follow-up is basically guided by the decision taken at the end of the review meeting. If it's approved or approved with minor changes, then the follow-up is obviously very little. If it is changed, if the decision of the review meeting is to come back to the review team or to have another look by the review team, then the project management must ensure that they make the necessary changes and come back to the review process again and get the approval. So today I have tried to summarize different activities, different functions, different responsibilities and roles of the software quality assurance group. Why is it necessary? Why quality is important? And again, this is a very, very high-level introduction of SQA. A lot of books are written about it, but that's the only introduction I can provide in the time in one sitting. Thank you very much.